Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Thorn model SHY042. I purchased this watch with earnings from this channel, so without you guys this video would not be possible. So again, huge thank you goes out to each and every one of you for the continued support. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description. That's where I picked it up from. That is an affiliate link. If you use that link, you're not going to pay any extra. It'll just earn the channel a little bit of commission to help keep the channel going, help keep videos like this happening. The full retail price for this watch is $160 US. That's before any taxes or sales or customs or VAT or anything like that. They do participate in the sales. I've seen this thing hovering right around $150 pretty much since it's been released. I actually picked this one up for $124 US during the last sale. The watch comes in 5 different colorways that you can see here. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal with AR coating, a screw-down crown, a screw-down case back, 200 meters of claimed water resistance, Swiss Super Luminova on the dial and the hands, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. So this is my second watch from Thorn on the channel. Surprisingly, I haven't had too many of them. I liked the first one, and I like this one too. I think this offers great value, and it really makes you wonder if spending $2,800 on the watch that this is homaging is actually worth it. It's that good. So I say we get into this review to find out why it's so good. But before we do, doing a quick wrist check for the day. Wearing a watch that's coming up on the channel next. This is the brand new Baltony. I don't have the model number handy for you, but yeah, this one will be coming up on the channel very, very soon. All right, as always, get the dimensions out of the way. Got a 40 millimeter diameter, case thickness of 13.3 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width, 47.6 millimeters lug to lug, and we got a total length just under 52 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrists with 3 links removed. It weighs 166 grams. So I'll say the watch size is great. It wears a little bit smaller than the dimensions suggest, I think, but it is pretty chunky, pretty hefty. 13.3 millimeters thick is not bad at all. You can see it's got a nice turn down to the lugs there as well. So yeah, I do like the way that this wears. It's 52 lug to lug, or end link to end link, I guess. But those do turn down pretty sharp, so I really don't think it's that much of a problem. I think you guys are going to like the way that this thing wears. If you're kind of used to these 40 millimeter divers, yeah, it kind of wears like those, maybe just a little bit smaller because it is pretty short lug to lug. So, and the dial does seem to be pretty small as well. So, but yeah, I like the way that it wears. So I'm going to go outside right now, throw it on my wrist for you. Hey, here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and I think it looks great. I think it wears great. Got a nice turn down to the lugs like I mentioned there, so it just hugs my wrist perfectly. I don't think it's overly long. I think the end links, they curve down enough where it's really a non-issue for me there. So yeah, really happy with that. You can see legibility is fine even under this tree, which is usually a problem. Nice polished chamfers, polished on the bracelet as well, and I was able to get a perfect fit. So yeah, really happy with the way this thing wears. And here we are in some direct sunlight, and you can see here a little bit of washout there, but really not that bad. The dial does tend to look a little cheap in lighting like this. It just doesn't look great in my opinion. But once you're kind of away from that, I do think it looks pretty good. Lots and lots of little polished accents on this case, which really just kind of set it apart. I think it looks fantastic. I'm going to go throw it on some straps and we'll get back to this review. Thought I'd throw a little bit of color on this thing. Got the FKM cut to size strap in orange. I think that looks pretty good. And these straps are just awesome. Here we are on a single pass nylon strap. This is from CNS Watch Bands. Figured the light blue might look pretty good on this one, and it definitely does. These watches are super lightweight, super comfortable. It's a nice combo in my opinion. And lastly, here we are on a Cincy Strapco SF2. This is a nylon strap with 2 layers underneath the watch there. You can see it still sits pretty nice. The turn down to the lug really helps, and no issues with strap clearance or spring bar clearance or anything like that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the strap situation on this watch. All right, let's go back inside. Let's get back to this review. So let's talk about the case finishing, and case finishing is actually pretty impressive on this thing. You have a circular brushing on the top of the case there, really nicely done, nice and consistent. It's a pretty coarse brushing, but that's typical for this style of watch. Flipping it over to the case sides here, you have a horizontal brushing there, really nice and satinized, and again, really nice and consistent. And then separating those two sides there, you do have a nice big polished chamfer. Again, nicely done, nice sharp transitions as well. I do see a little bit of over polishing. You can see it right next to the lug holes there. It's the same on this side here, so I was wondering if it was consistent all the way around. A little bit on this corner here, and then a little bit on that corner there, but it's not really symmetric all the way around. So it's just something I noticed only when I had it under macro though. So yeah, it is there. Definitely it needs a little bit of work, but it's not too terrible. Again, horizontal brushing on this side. Drilled lugs, I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. And then an unsigned screw down crown here. Nice and big and grippy. You got no problems with that crown. The case finishing on this is actually pretty good, except for that little bit of over polishing there. The case back here, you can see it is fully polished back here, except for this surface right here is a circular brushing. There's no spec sheet or anything like that. I kind of wish I would see something there. But other than that, it's done nicely. There's no real sharp edges on the case or anything like that. This whole bottom edge here is pretty nice and fluid feeling, especially sliding it on wrist. I've got no real issues as far as that goes. It's a very comfortable case. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the case finishing on this thing, except when you get it really under macro, that's when you can start to scrutinize that little corner there. All right, so let's talk about the bezel on this thing. So the bezel insert is a ceramic bezel insert on this model. I think they do have a steel one as well. So yeah, just something, just depending on the dial color you go with. But this is just a black ceramic insert, and it looks excellent. You have the markers here at 15, 30, and 45, which is unusual for a Seiko style diver there. You do have a loomed pip at the 12 o'clock position there, and it's aligned pretty darn, I mean, it's spot on in my opinion, but nicely done. That is the only loomed spot on the bezel, so this is all just filled in with white paint, but it's done nice. The engravings are nice. There's no paint spillover or anything like that. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. As far as the bezel itself, you have a polished top and then a slim but brushed side there. That knurling or that grip or whatever you want to call it, the coin edge there, it kind of starts on the side and then goes up on the top of the surface there. So you got plenty of grip for this. I think the resistance is pretty high, but it's not so high that it makes it unusable. So yeah, I think the resistance is just, I mean, just a hair too heavy maybe, but it's really not that bad. And there is plenty of grip on this thing. So you can see here, there's just the slightest bit of play in this bezel. It's really not that bad. I'm putting some force into this play. So yeah, it's really not that bad. If you're just sitting here, you know, lightly rocking it, it doesn't move at all. It doesn't move in any other direction either. So that's nice to see. It's 120 clicks unidirectional. I'll let you listen to the clicks here, hopefully. It is a pretty quiet click, I'll say. And it feels good. It feels good. It sounds pretty good as well. Yeah, pretty happy with the bezel on this thing. Yeah, there's not too much to complain about. Yeah, so let's test this crystal for sapphire. It is positive for sapphire. So we do have a sapphire crystal on the front. I actually tested the crystal on the back, and that one is also sapphire, so that's pretty impressive. It is a clear inner reflective coating as well, so nice and legible on this thing. It looks excellent. It looks really, really good. I wouldn't consider it a box dome, but you can definitely see, I mean, it's perfectly flat on the top surface there, and then instead of a chamfer here, you have just kind of a rounded edge. So it does kind of offer a box dome shape to it. It's a super low box dome if it is one. But it's either way, it's nicely done. And look, right here, you can definitely see on that edge there that it's a nice smooth curve there. So it does look really good. I've got no issues with the crystal on this thing. It's really, really good. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. The dial is done okay. This is my main complaint with the watch. You can see here, it's kind of a texture or waved background. This one is the blue to black fade. I think it looks pretty cool. They do have a nice fume red too. I think the lighter color dials might look a little nicer than this one, but in certain lighting, this thing just looks cheap. Looks like right there, you can see it just looks cheap. It doesn't stand up to the rest of the watch. The rest of the watch looks very premium, feels very premium. The dial at certain lighting just does not look good. So once this review is done, I'm probably going to swap that dial out for something. That's how much I dislike the dial on this thing. I think they could have done a little bit nicer on that, or chosen a different pattern. It just doesn't look great in my opinion. Besides that, it's excellent. You have big applied indices at all the hour markers. They're finished nicely. They're aligned nicely. You have a framed date window there at the 3 o'clock position, which is nicely got the rounded edges and everything on it. The handset that they chose, again, nicely done. You have a thin minute hand there and a nice big fat hour hand. The length on those is just perfect, and you can see here they're brushed on the top, and then they have little polished chamfers, so they do sparkle nicely. They always catch the light just perfect. The seconds hand here, nice long counterbalance on it. Again, that's loomed as well, reaching right out to the minute track. So I've got no real complaints with the dial itself, except I guess the actual dial plate itself is not very nice. Yeah, the Thorn branding is kind of hit or miss for me. I do like their logo. It does say Marine Master on here. Two words, not one word. Seiko uses Marine Master as one word. Seiko Marine Master is a trademarked word or phrase. Just Marine Master is not. I think it's Mito, maybe, or one other. I can't remember who it is. One other Swiss brand has been using Marine Master for a long time, so having Marine Master on this dial is not an issue for me. It does say Divers 200 meter, which I believe Divers 200 or Divers 150 or whatever is ISO certified nomenclature. Again, it doesn't bother me. It might bother someone else, but the lume on this watch, I'm going to pop up a lume shot here, and you can see it against a couple other watches in the collection. It is Swiss BGW9, so it's got that ice blue glow. It's pretty strong, long lasting as well. I was pretty impressed with this thing. I took this out on the water at like 10:30 at night to do a bioluminescent tour. I could read the time the entire time, and then I woke up the next morning and I could still read the time even with a little bit of ambient light from the sun coming in. So the lume on this watch is actually pretty darn good. So yeah, really happy with the lume on this. All right, so let's talk about the movement on this thing. So the movement is the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. If you guys don't know it, 21,600 beats per hour, so 6 ticks of the second hand every second. It hacks, hand winds, it has a bidirectional winding rotor, roughly 40 hours of power reserve. It does everything you need it to do. It's cheap, it's reliable, it's accurate. Here's how this one has been running. I've got no issues with that at all. It's about what I expected for a watch like this. Yeah, these movements, they're great. They're reliable, they're robust, cheap and easy to replace too. So yeah, really happy with these movements. I'm never going to complain about a solid NH35. The movement is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown, unsigned. I wish they would sign that. Nice big crown, plenty of grip as well. Screw in, screw out action feels pretty good. You get a solid pop out from the NH35. First position is your hand winding. Second position is your date change. The date is nicely centered in there as well. And the third position, it does hack the movement. This is where you set your time. Everything functions as it should. No issues with this movement at all. No issues with the crown really either. It is one of those ones where I feel like I need to roll it back a little bit for it to seat in the threads. There we go. And then you can screw it in. So yeah, that's really my only really niggle about this is yeah, just a little bit of issues with the crown threading. It doesn't pick up immediately every single time. You got to roll it back to have it seat and then go forward. But yeah, other than that, no issues with the crown, no issues with the movement. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So the bracelet is 20 millimeters and it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. It's 5 solid links, solid end links. You have really nice brushing on the top surfaces there, polished on those middle links there. Really nicely done. You have push pins for sizing. I removed 3 links for my 7.5 inch wrist with no issues. The bottom edge of the bracelet is nice and soft. This watch is very comfortable. I wore it out when I was paddleboarding. I had no issues with it at all as far as comfort goes. Yeah, pretty happy with the bracelet on this thing. I was a little worried about it, but really not that bad. There's one thing that I'm going to tell you about here in just a second, but let's talk about the clasp. You have a fully brushed clasp there. I wish they would have some sort of branding on this. It looks very barren, and it's a pretty big clasp, so it just kind of sticks out that there's nothing there. Brushed on the sides, and then a nice polished chamfer, so it matches the case nicely. Plenty of micro adjust holes there. You got 5 spots there. It's just a double button push release there, fully milled on the inside. These tolerances are nice and tight. I had no issues with it opening or closing or anything like that, so yeah, overall pretty happy with the clasp on it. It's nothing special. It's not an on the fly or anything like that, but at this price you can't really expect that. But a pretty nice clasp either way, and a pretty nice bracelet either way. Again, I was pretty surprised by it. The tolerances on it are nice. It doesn't rattle. It feels nice and solid and heavy. Yeah, I mean, it's just a overall very nice bracelet, surprisingly. The end links on this thing, you can see here, got a little bit of a gap there. That's not because of the fitment, it's because of the spring bar. I don't even know if you can see it. I'm going to pop up a picture of a spring bar here, and you can just see that the tips are super bent on this thing, and that was just after removing it one time for the strap shows. Yeah, it really an interesting problem to have. I think once this review is done, I'm going to swap out those spring bars for something a little more substantial, and hopefully we won't have any issues like that. But yeah, that does, you know, just get a little bit of an issue with these end links. They don't fit great to begin with. It's just like the Seiko. I mean, the Seiko has the same looking end link. It's just not a pretty looking end link in my opinion. But yeah, these ones, they just don't fit well, and I think it's mostly because of the spring bars. You know, spring bars are pretty important in a watch like this. You need some big heavy duty spring bars, and those are not cutting it for me in my opinion. So yeah, I'll be swapping those out, and hopefully that'll fix my problem. But yeah, other than that, I think the bracelet is actually pretty nicely done. As you can see here, I mean, it's got nice articulation. There's no links that are hanging up on each other or anything. Again, the tolerances are nice, and it's just a comfortable bracelet. I'm not a huge fan of heavy watches, 165 grams or something like whatever this one is. That's pretty heavy for me, but even with that extra weight, it was comfortable for me, and that's the big thing, is that it's just comfortable for me. I wore it a couple days in a row on the bracelet, no problems at all. So yeah, I do like the bracelet on this thing. They just need to bump up the quality of those spring bars that they include. So there you go, guys. That is the Thorn model SHY042. If you guys pick this up, I think you're going to be pretty happy. 130, actually 120. Sorry about the noise outside if you can hear that. 120 to 150-ish or so is what you should pay. Obviously, I got it for pretty low. For that price, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Besides the poor spring bars and kind of the cheap-looking dial, if you can get past that, I think it's an excellent dive watch. Full, solid stainless steel. Good bracelet, good bezel, good lume, good movement. Yeah, you're gonna be pretty happy with this watch. So if you are interested in this, again, link will be down in the video description. I think that's it for me though. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.